I'm not so much the gambling type, but what's happening right now with GameStop is making me think really hard about the stock market. How's it going, everybody? Welcome back. My name is Mike, and today we're going to talk about the frenzy that's been happening in the last 48 hours with the GameStop stock. Except you've been living under a rock, you know that in the last 24 to 48 hours, a lot of money has been made and a lot of money has been lost. As a matter of fact, there's a war going on right now between the average Joe and big Wall Street firms. So if you've been following the news, you know that the stock of the company called GameStop has just been on a crazy ride all the way to the top here, over 2,000% gain in the last 48 hours. Now, who is GameStop? If you're in your 30s like I am, you probably have some history going to GameStop to get some games. I remember as a teenager, every day after school, that was the place to be. This was the absolute marketplace to get your games, to reserve games, to exchange games, and so on and so forth. I remember going in there to exchange some of my PlayStation games, going in there to put a deposit down on a new game coming out, the PSP when it came out, and so on and so forth. So GameStop was great a decade or 2 decades ago. But like every other brick and mortar store, GameStop has been getting beat up really bad over the years because everything is just moving to mobile devices and computers. So games are now being played online, they're being played on mobile phones. And companies like GameStop that are selling physical games are not doing so well. What that's done is drive the stock price all the way down. As a matter of fact, if you bought a GameStop stock just a few months ago, you're probably paying less than $5 for it. So like I said, a lot of people got rich in the last 24 to 48 hours buying GameStop. So because of this, Wall Street firms see this stock as really worthless. And so what they decided to do was short sell it. Now, let's explain what short selling is. It's basically placing a bet on a stock based on the historic trend of that stock. And this happens every single day on Wall Street. If you've been watching this channel, you've probably been introduced to the concept of arbitrage. That's the same thing that applies here when it comes to short selling. So let's explain it. When you short sell a stock, you need 3 parties involved, okay? You've got you, the short seller, you've got your original seller, and then you've got a buyer who buys from you. And the way that works is you find a stock, again, let's say GameStop, which is the stock in question here. And let's say right now the stock is worth $1. And based on the historic trend, you see that this stock is only going downhill. And as a matter of fact, with GameStop, that's the case. That's been the case. And so you go to a seller and you tell them, I'm gonna get a bunch of stocks from you. And let's say you as the short seller, you decided to invest $1 million. And each stock costs you $1. Okay, let's keep it simple. The stock costs $1. And so you go to a seller, you get a bunch of stock. As a matter of fact, I think the right word is you borrow the stock, because at some point you're promising to give that stock back to the original seller. So let's say you get $1 million worth of stock and you bought them at $1 each. Once you have your pile of stocks, you immediately go ahead and sell that stock to another party at $1 each. Now, because you're betting on the fact that that stock is going to go down in value, so you wait it out, say a month from now, even 3 days or a week from now, your calculations become reality. The stock does go down. So let's say a month from now, that same stock that you sold for $1 is now worth 50 cents. What you then do is you go back and you buy your stock back for 50 cents. Now, this whole time you sold the stock, okay, and you made $1 million. You're keeping that $1 million. Again, you're betting on the fact that that stock is going to go down. And so it does. You take now $500,000 to buy back the same stock that you sold for $1 million. And now that you get all your stocks back, you now take that stock, you give it back to the original owner, and you keep what? $500,000. That's how it's done. That's the simplest way I can explain it. And this is how a lot of firms on Wall Street make money, except for a couple of days ago. Now let's bring back what's happening in reality today with the GameStop stock. The same concept. You have a lot of short sellers on Wall Street, see some money to be made here. As a matter of fact, GameStop had been devalued so much that 90%, over 90% of its stock was bet against. So firms were looking forward to this thing going further down. And so they put a hedge on it. And now you had average Joes on Reddit, okay, who figured this out, and then they said, you know what, let's buy some of this stuff. And before you know it, this thing started to trend. More people started buying GameStop stocks. And what happens now when you have more people buying, not just buying, but holding on to it. When you hold on to a stock and nobody's selling, it creates some sort of scarcity. And because a short seller has to buy his stock back to give it back to the original owner, what that means is now when everyone is now buying the stock and they're holding on to it, the price continues to climb. So the same stock now, let's go back to the same scenario. The same stock that you sold for $1, now because somebody else bought it and they're sitting on it, is now maybe worth $10 or $20 or $30. Now with everyone now buying in on GameStop, and by everyone I mean just people like me and you, the average guys. We're not firms, we don't place bets, we're just buying because it's what's trending, right? So we're buying and then we're sitting on it. But guess what? The short sellers still have to buy the stock back to give it back to the original owner. And now because the tables are being turned, the more that the average Joe like myself buy and sit on that stock, the higher the price. And the same stock that you sold for $1, now you have to buy it back for $20, which means you're gonna lose a lot of money. And that's what's happening right now. Hundreds of millions of dollars are being, actually no, I'll take that back, billions. In the last 48 hours, billions of dollars have been lost by short sellers because they made the wrong bet, or let me say, the average guy decided to turn the table on them. And that's what's happening right now, in case you were wondering. Now, what's the moral of this entire story? When you think of Wall Street, think of it as a big casino. And if you know anything about casinos, 9 out of 10 times, it's only the owners who are making money. And that's been the case with Wall Street. It's the big firms who are setting the rules and pocketing all the profits. The average Joe usually does not stand a chance. As a matter of fact, this event reminds me so vividly of what happened in 2008. If you lived through 2008 when the market crashed, a lot of firms walked away rich. So many people walked away stinking rich because they hedged a bet against the economy. Many of these firms and short sellers saw what was coming. They saw it. It was so clear as night and day, and they put a bet against it. And when the market crashed, a lot of people were in dire situations, but those who placed that bet, they walked away with millions and billions of dollars, just became stinking rich. And the worst part, the federal government gave them even more money. And this is why it's so important for you to educate yourself about all of these things and understand how things happen. My only advice in this video is that when you're betting in the stock market, know what you're doing. Understand the rules, because usually it's rigged against you. But guess what? If you understand it, you can turn the tables just like people have done in this case. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if this is your first time, make sure you subscribe with the notification bell on. Again, my name is Mike. I talk about finances, business, and whatnot on this channel. Thank you so much for spending time with me, and I will catch you on the next video. Peace.